Hello and welcome to VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Red Carpet. We have Oscar-nominated film Attica, the headlining act at this year's Essence Festival, and a Nigerian visual arts teacher converting waste products into playground equipment for schools. Let's get on with the show. And we begin the show in Nigeria, where linguist Aremu Anuluwapo is pushing for linguistic and cultural diversity with his board game, Yuba Lingo. The game is meant to entertain and educate players and targets parents living in the diaspora who want to give their children the opportunity to learn the Yoruba language in a fun way. Here is a story from Reuters. In 2019, the 24-year-old started working with cardboard papers and colored pencils to make designs after drawing inspiration from several crossword puzzles he had played in the past. And Luwapo said he wanted more people to engage with the Yoruba language beyond just speaking it.
I saw a need to have something like that just for the language to, have more engagement compared to the European and Asian and other continental languages.
Yoruba is spoken in parts of West Africa, with majority of speakers found in southwestern Nigeria. About 50 million people speak the language, which has 25 alphabets and includes 7 vowels and 18 consonants. Nigeria is one of the most linguistically diverse countries in the world, with several hundred indigenous languages spoken. However, the National Institute for Cultural Orientation says the top 3 languages spoken in the country, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba, may not survive the next 50 years. And Luwapo says he wants to use a different approach to make people learn Yoruba.
If you are trying to teach what people are not really excited to learn, but you have to take another approach. So it's like a fusion of education and entertainment. So to form a kind of edutainment background via learning something new that could spoil their excitement into trying to learn the language and use it more.
Aderemi Adebite, a visual artist who also runs an institute to promote the Yoruba language, says more needs to be done to promote local languages and help preserve them.
For a long period of time, in those countries that were colonized, the colonizers' languages have been the former languages being spoken in those countries. In Nigeria, quite a lot of initiatives are coming up to protect the languages and the dialects, in the country.
The board game is now going through the last bits of graphic redesigning and will be released in the market early next year. And now to some film news. Attica, a documentary about the 1971 rebellion at Attica Prison in New York, was nominated for an Academy Award. The film reconstructs the events that triggered the violent revolt by the majority black inmate population and eventual crackdown by an all-white police force that resulted in the death of 29 prisoners and 10 hostages.
Attica was fear.
The documentary was co-directed by Stanley Nelson and Tracy Curry, using existing footage shot from the prison during the standoff and material from historian Heather Ann Thompson's Pulitzer Prize-winning book on Attica in 2016 called Blood in the Water, the Attica Prison Uprising of 1971 and its legacy. Nelson spoke with Red Carpet about conditions in the prison that led to the prisoners' revolt.
I mean, Attica, as one of the former prisoners describes Attica, it was the worst of the worst. It was the worst prison in New York. It was horrible. There were, the inmates were 70% black and brown. The guards were all white. They all came from little towns around the town of Attica, and that there was the conditions there were just cruel and unusual. Besides small things like the prisoners would get 1 roll of toilet paper a month. And if it didn't last, as a prisoner said, you had to tear pages out of books to wipe your behind, as he said. To not enough showers, to beatings and killings and maimings if you did something wrong, or if you complained too loudly about the conditions. What you got was a beating, and so the prisoners rebelled.
In making the documentary, the filmmakers spoke to former prisoners who survived the violence, as well as family members of Attica prison guards, journalists who covered the story, and mediators brought in to resolve the tense situation before it evolved into violence. We are men!
I think it's really, the story of Attica is really fascinating and interesting, and because it's about the prisoners kind of rebelling, and the prisoners are the most powerless of the powerless. They have no power, but at some point they say this has gone too far, and they rebel. But at the end, it's also about the state's response to that rebellion, and the state has to put the rebellion down, by any means necessary. And it's really important that we understand that the state, then retaliates against the prisoners. Well, I mean, Attica 1, it's the largest prison rebellion, in the history of this country, just in terms of the people that participated, 1,000 prisoners. 2, it's the most deadly single violence committed by the government of the United States against its citizens since the Civil War. Besides the Indian massacres, which but that's how huge it is. And I think that there's so many lessons, in the film, and I think that's why the film has really reached an audience. It's about prison reform. It's about the power of the state. It's about racism and this just casual racism.
Tell me this, are these primarily blacks?
Guys were complaining about the basic things like toothpaste. A roll of toilet paper lasts you a month.
The inmates were considered like animals.
They beat you up in your cell and then they take you to segregation, and sometimes you don't come back.
Have the inmates made any demands?
There are all kinds of demands for change in the whole world.
This had to be mediated, otherwise it was going to end in disaster. They wanted to use those weapons.
Put your hands in the air and you will not be harmed.
You will not be harmed. You will not be harmed. But that was...
They want to kill us.
We are men.
He was waking up America.
Somebody had to take a stand.
And now to some entertainment news. One of the world's biggest events to celebrate Black women, culture, and communities, Essence Festival, is back after a 2-year hiatus brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. The festival, which takes place in New Orleans, will be headlined by some of the biggest names in entertainment, such as Janet Jackson, Nicki Minaj, and Kevin Hart. The AP has this story. Janet Jackson, Kevin Hart, and Nicki Minaj are among the headliners announced for this year's Summer Essence Festival of Culture, which returns to New Orleans after a 2-year hiatus brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. Others tapped to entertain June 30th through July 3rd include New Edition, the Isley Brothers, Jasmine Sullivan, Summer Walker, The Roots and Friends, and D Nice and Friends, according to a statement by Essence Communications. Launched in 1995 to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Essence magazine, the festival has evolved into the world's largest celebration of Black women, culture, and communities, convening more than 530,000 people annually over the July 4th weekend in New Orleans. In addition to the nightly concerts inside the Superdome, the festival will include programming on networking, finance, career, wellness, fashion, beauty, and more at the Ernest N. Morial Convention Center and other entertainment venues citywide. And let's go to West Africa in Nigeria, when Jumoke Oluwakere's landlord informed her that the cost for refuse collection was going up by more than 100% because of the amount of waste she was generating. She decided it was time to do something different. And today she runs a small business converting waste products into playground equipment for schools. Here is a story from Reuters.
Inside Nigeria's Waste Museum in Ibadan City, Jumoke Olowukere works on her latest creations, made out of used tires, in addition to a wide collection produced from used plastic and fabric, wine corks, and corn husks, among other waste material. Olowukere, the founder of what she calls Africa's first waste museum, joins a growing number of Nigerians who are using waste material to make art and fashion, to highlight the damaging impact of waste on the environment. Olowukere said her interest in making art from waste started when she realized her landlord was going to increase her waste collection bill because of the amount of waste generated from her home.
Waste from my kitchen inspired me. For each time I see waste in my kitchen and I want to throw it away, I don't want to throw it away. So I'm always like, what can we do with this thing? Why do we have to throw this thing away? Why must it end up in the dustbin? Why must we throw it in the landfill? So I always, want to challenge myself to see what I could come up with using the waste.
In addition to operating the Waste Museum, Olowukere also makes equipment for school playgrounds. With a population of more than 200 million, Nigeria has a lot of plastic waste, including used bags, food and beverage packaging, and littering is common.
If we cannot define where our waste is going to and what that waste is being used for, then we have not started. Because it's not enough for you to just pick the waste, drop them on the landfill and say, oh, that's it, final, oh, bye-bye.
The 44-year-old former visual arts teacher collects some of her waste material from people's homes and also picks plastic off of the street. She also displays the work of other artists at her museum, which includes Ottoman furniture made from discarded car tires, as well as curtains made from bottle tops and jewelry made from bottle caps.
And as we close the show, let's head to Chad, where actor Bonaventure Majotibanga has been organizing readings of poetry and plays in the streets of the capital N'Djamena to bring culture to impoverished neighborhoods. Here is the story from AFP.
Me prendrai en otage. Sheet metal shacks line the dusty rubbish-strewn alleys, and the stench of burning plastic waste fills the air. This hardly seems a good time or place for culture, but for Chadian artist Bonaventure Majotibanga, it's perfect.
Culture should be accessible to all. If we want to have a wonderful world, a harmonious world, everyone should be focused on the same dimensions to be able to dream together. And without culture, we want to be able to initiate development. And to initiate this stage of development, you need to invite people to think together.
Je crois qu'on est tous poètes.
The dreadlocked 35-year-old performs dramatized readings in the slums of N'Djamena, the Chadian capital. A score of adults and children look on, many drawn by the bewitching high notes of the balafon, a sort of xylophone.
The kondo is part of me. It's my identity. It accompanies the musicality. And what is beautiful in theater is that you can't work alone. Theater brings other disciplines together, and other views also enrich what I do in theater. So it builds a bond while offering this identity to which everyone can identify internally.
The actor considers his work to be a political act to bring culture to the grassroots.
And with that, we come to the end of our show today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. My name is Jackson Bunganyi. For more entertainment news, remember to check us out at voanews.com. We are also on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, where you can watch our videos. Until next time, I'll catch you right here. Goodbye, everyone.